tuning in. So you know I have to ask, how are you doing today? How are you feeling? Have you looked in the mirror and told yourself that you're beautiful? If not, stop this video, go ahead and do that, and then come right back and we can get started.
So, you guys, as you can tell, we have our lovely guest. Yeah, do you want to introduce yourself?
My name is Chinma. I'm a fourth-year medical student.
Yes. So, we have Chinma on our channel to talk about her experience as a medical student, her global health track, like all of just her as a medical student. She is a fourth year applying to
Combined internal medicine and pediatrics.
Hopefully you guys can get some gems out of this whole entire video.
Yeah, especially those interested in global health and global medicine.
Yes.
This is for you.
So, just to start off, so can you tell us a little bit about like your experience from first year to fourth year, like how you feel like you're seeing yourself grow over the years?
Wow. So I definitely feel like I've grown in a lot of ways, both professionally and outside of medicine as a person. Professionally speaking, I think one of the biggest growths was just the realization of what it was that I was interested in and what I was passionate about, and just learning how to be proactive about shaping my path forward towards the career that I was envisioning. When it comes to personally, I think I have probably mellowed out a lot compared to what I used to be like in high school. I'm a lot more accepting of challenges, especially when outcomes are not exactly what I wanted. I'm a lot more, I'm trying to be more, still a growth process, but I'm trying to be a lot more forgiving for my with myself for my shortcomings and that kind of thing. But I think I'm just a lot more, I think one of the greatest things that I've learned in medical school, personally speaking, is I've become a lot more self-aware. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about why you chose Med-Peds, because that's not common, maybe, to our audience. They might not know what Med-Peds is. So give them a little insight into that.
So a little background into what Med-Peds is. That's a nickname. First and foremost, you should know that if you ever decide to go into Med-Peds, people filter out the med part and all they hear is peds. And so everybody thinks that it's pediatrics, which it's not. It's combined internal medicine and pediatrics, which means at the end of usually a 4-year residency, you will take both boards for internal medicine and for pediatrics. The reason to go into that is varied. It really depends on what it is that you want to do with Med-Peds. People will tell you, they either end up practicing medicine or they end up practicing pediatrics, and that's actually not true. There's a large majority of people that train as Med-Peds and end up doing both, and then there's also a large number of people that end up doing more of medicine versus more of pediatrics, especially if you decide to pursue a fellowship. Because as a Med-Peds trained resident, you are able to apply for a fellowship in internal medicine or in pediatrics. So basically all of those doors are still open to you. For me personally, the reason that I'm interested in Med-Peds is just because I have developed an interest in adolescent health and transition medicine. And for those of you that don't know, transition medicine is basically, or I should say transition of care specifically, is basically looking at how you move children with chronic conditions from seeing a pediatrician to seeing an adult doctor, what that transition process is supposed to look like, what factors affect that process, just to ensure that there's a continuity of care, that people don't get lost in the gap. Because oftentimes what would happen is they would see a pediatrician for a while, have no real follow-up, no longer qualified to see a pediatrician, and then they're supposed to see an internal medicine doctor, and they get lost, and they end up in the emergency room with like complications of uncontrolled whatever their chronic condition is, and such. So that's where my interest is.
So we know that you're interested in global health.
Yes.
You went to London. She went to London, y'all.
I did.
For a year.
For a year.
Tell us about that experience and like how'd you find out about that, and what made you compelled to leave us for a year?
So I went to the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine to do a Master's of Science in Public Health with a concentration in health services research. What drove that was because I realized what it is exactly that I was interested in. I knew that at this point, by the time I was looking at public health programs, first I realized that I didn't have to go to the graduate school that was affiliated with my medical school. I actually could apply to whatever public health school I wanted, and it'd still be dual degree. I didn't realize that. But at this point, I had an idea of what it was that I was interested in, which was the adolescent health and transition of care, and I was asking myself, what public health schools would afford me the opportunities to get the necessary skills and training that would equip me for that sort of career. And so the reason I chose the London school was because they have an affiliated adolescent health center called the March Center, the Maternal Adolescent Reproductive and Child Health Center. And I knew that whatever project I did, I wanted to be involved with that center. I felt like it would be a good opportunity to get exposure to other international public health specialists, and all of that I felt like I wouldn't get back here. And so that's what led me, and it was coincidentally in London. And it was coincidental.
And I got in. And I lived there for a year, and collected my bag.
So living in London did not hurt.
How was that experience, like you being away from your family and pursuing this thing that you really wanted to do, but just being away from your comfort zone?
Yeah, so I'm going to be completely honest, it was actually really hard. I really struggled with it, especially in that first semester. I'm very much a homebody. I miss my friends, I miss my family, I miss my fiance. And it was really difficult, especially because the culture of London is very different from like Houston. I miss my car, I miss my walk-in closet, I missed HEB, I miss Torchy's tacos, like all of these things. I miss a decent brunch that I don't have to give up my first child to pay for.
Free water.
But what I did learn was how to I was always able to be comfortable in my own presence, in my own company, and to recharge for myself and all of that stuff. But I feel like it just went to another level because I didn't have my best friends around that I could just call up whenever I wanted to do something. If I was like really upset about something or having a really hard day, there was a 6-hour time difference. By the time it's the end of the day, and I'm trying to deal with things, and people are like in the middle, and they're like, "Oh, can I try to call you at lunch?" And you're like, "No, I'm in crisis mode now," And so it was really hard to learn. There were growing pains. By the time I left, I did feel a little bit nostalgic. I was gonna miss the museums. I made some amazing friends there. London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, shout out, is an amazing school. If anybody has the opportunity to go there, take it. And so really grateful for the experience, but it was by no means easy. And then on top of all that, the course itself was just challenging. Like, I don't know why people think, oh, you went to medical school, so you're gonna come do this master's degree and it's gonna be a total breeze. No, it's a master's degree. A master's degree is a master's degree in 1 year. It's hard.
That's true. It's like compacted.
Yeah. So the only thing I brought from medical school into public health school was just time efficiency. And that was it.
That's fair.
I wish I could bring that.
Still working that way.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, that's cool though. So let's talk a little bit more about global health.
Okay.
So what is global health first and foremost?
Yeah, I felt that question was coming. So global health is really a very umbrella term. I think the best way to explain what it is to understand what global health is not. So for starters, global health is not, I like doing medicine and I like traveling.
That's what I thought at first. I came in medical school, I was like, I want to travel, I want to do medicine, so let me do global health.
You do not need to travel. You do not need to travel to be involved in global health. The idea of global is that it is a variety of settings, low, middle, and high income settings. And you can find all of those settings at home. And by home, I mean in the United States as well. In Houston, you can find those settings. So you don't have to be traveling and gallivanting all over the world to practice global health. Okay? I turned into my mother, just gallivanting about. It's about delivering. I'm going to speak specifically to practicing medicine. It's about delivering medical care in a variety of settings, understanding how those settings impact health outcomes and how you can deliver that care. Of course, the goal is always going to be the same high quality of care that you're able to deliver in a high resource setting, you can deliver in a low resource setting and have similar great outcomes. And then the other side of global health is the health aspect. I think people oftentimes think that you have to be a doctor in order to, or even a nurse or some sort of medical practitioner to practice global health, and you don't. Because the reality is there are a lot of things that impact a person's health, from mentally, physically, all these social determinants, and you can work in just about any field that subsequently influences health and thus be participating in global health. I think those are the two biggest things to understand. So you can practice global health in the US, you can practice global health in South Africa or in Indonesia. You can travel. That's not to say that you can't travel and practice medicine 100%. But I think that's the best way to understand global health, is just how are we influencing people's health in whatever you're bringing to the table in the setting that you are. And how do we just make it even and equitable across the board.
And so you talked about how you wanted to long-term be in Nigeria when you're done. Is that like your way of implementing your global health experience there, or is that just your end goal in general?
It's actually just a general end goal of mine, because being a first gen, I feel that our parents left their home countries to come to the United States to be able to provide us with all of these opportunities, and we have a responsibility to now take all of the skills and assets and resources that we have back to Nigeria to better the country, right? Better where you are now as well, but going back. And that's always been part of my plan, is eventually, way down the line, I want to, you gotta have money, and way down the line, when I have real money, and I'm a real adult.
Right.
I want to go back. My interest in global health actually came from the appreciation of how the disparities in settings affect people's health in all different aspects, and wanting to participate in the movement to address that. And that's why I was interested in global health. Yeah.
So how can our audience learn more about global health programs, just tracks to medical school? How can they go about getting more information?
That is a really good question. First and foremost, I think that what everybody needs to ask them, what a pre-med student needs to ask themselves is, why do I want to be involved in global health? And what does global health look like for me? The reason that's important to ask yourself that is because that is then how you shape what you do. So for me, like I said, I had the interest in looking at the different settings, so I actually got involved with global medical brigades when I was in college and university, and I traveled a lot with them, and I got to see what it looked like to deliver healthcare in different settings, and that's where I started to realize how much a setting can affect a person's health. So ask yourself that. There's some people that do, for them, if they're interested in surgery, looking at how to perform surgery in low resource settings, how the techniques might vary between practicing in a village in Bolivia versus in a higher income setting like Houston, Texas Medical Center, that sort of thing. That's where the interest in global health looked like, and developing techniques that translated across settings. For some people, it's global mental health, looking at how different cultures can influence different psychiatric, psychological conditions, that sort of thing. So once you start asking yourself that question, then you can start tailoring your experience to that. One thing that I definitely want to reiterate is, when you decide that you want to do global health, that does not necessarily mean that you have to participate on a mission trip, okay? I just want to take this opportunity to highlight some of the dangers about medical mission trips, okay? You have to ask yourself, what is the benefit that I'm bringing to this group that I am this locale, population, region that I'm going to work in. You don't want to go into that setting, into a local village, provide all of this medical care, answer all of these questions, give hypertensive medications or all of these things, and then leave and never go back. Because what ends up happening is you end up doing a lot more harm than good. And you don't want that. Now, you can find organizations that promote sustainability. So those are groups that they still do medical mission trips, but they have a rotating roster of who's going in. They're doing training. They're involving community doctors or community health workers. And the idea, they're going in with the mentality of, we're not here to stay a long time. We're just here to help you, equip you, help you find the resources that you need. Build the foundation, empower the people so that when we leave, you have the ability to practice good health, to have good health. So it's not every medical mission trip that you want to jump on and so you can slap on your resume and be like, I'm interested in global health because I travel here and I save all the children. No, that is not a reason to do it. I just want to do that because that is something that's like very near and dear to my heart. Seeing what the impacts of well-meaning people have been on these local communities, just devastating. So yeah.
That was really good. So if you guys are interested in global health, like definitely we'll put some resources in the description box below, and like if you're interested in getting an MPH, like we'll also put some information down below because I think it's really important for us to like kind of branch out and like get to know a little bit about the other types of medicine, not just about like 4 years medical school graduation, okay, cool, great. There's people who are getting their MBAs, MPHs, like
JD.
All of these things.
There's so many different routes that you can take, especially now, and like a lot of the new medical schools are coming up with like curriculum where they give you like a year embedded in the program for you to like explore. Because I know Dell does that in Austin. Like they give you a year to do research, to get your master's, MPH, MBA, JD, like anything. They give you a year to like explore your options, do global health, do whatever tracks. And a lot of medical schools have tracks. So you can do like a medical education track where you focus on academics and medicine. You can do global health. You can do children. Like there's so many different options. So definitely look at that when you're applying to medical school. See what the schools have to offer and if it caters to your interests. So
yeah. So now it's time for our gym. Okay, you have to do this all day, okay? So yes, Chinma has been thinking about a gym. I instructed her to think of a gym.
Literally, she had it. She wanted to share it with us, but we're like, nah, wait for the video.
So, hopefully you guys can get some, words of wisdom out of this.
Yes. Oh, you're on the spot.
And we'll of course add a little 2 cents because we always do. So
I'll chime in.
Do some snaps.
Cosign.
I think that what I would want to say is, first off, everybody's path to medicine or whatever it is that you end up going into is different. And I think that those differences should be celebrated. There is no longer a typical pre-med route.
Very true.
Which then brings me to my second thing, I guess. Think about what you want to do, who you want to be, the type of person you want to be. Do you want to be involved in the community, not involved in the community? Do you want to have a family, whatever? And then shape your path forward around that. Don't shape it around what somebody else believes a doctor should be, should practice, or should look like. Shape it around who you want to be and work towards that in everything that you do. If you want to get involved in a certain aspect of church because you know that's something that's really near and dear to your heart, do it. If you want to be in a sorority or a fraternity because that kind of community feeling is important to you, do it. If you feel like what you want to do is ultimately be a mentor for underrepresented minorities, like these ladies, and start a YouTube channel, do it and start now and let all these things be part of your path because it contributes to the type of person that you are. And when you're a more well-rounded person, you're better able to develop more effective and holistic care for your patients.
Ooh. That was great. Oh my God. That was perfect.
Everything. And she's also given me that advice recently, so yeah.
Build a brand for yourself. That's what I'm going to do. So I was talking to, because we're in our 3rd year, we're figuring out what we want to do. So I talked with, one of the residency directors, and he told me, he was like, from here on out, build a brand for yourself, and everything that you do, have it go towards that brand. Since mentoring is important for me, everything I do should be revolved around mentorship and underrepresented minorities. So whether that's volunteering, research, internships, everything that I do from here on out is gonna be
and it's not just about contributing to your brand. What you're also doing is equipping yourself. You're collecting the necessary knowledge and skills to do that.
And you'll be an expert at it. There you go.
So that was like probably one of my favorite gems that we had. Because it was just, I don't know, it was perfect. It applies to literally anybody in any field, any journey that you're on. Like, have a vision of what you want to be, and hopefully God is also in line with that, and everything work itself out. So thank you guys for watching, and thanks for coming on our channel. If you have any questions for her, I will put her email in the description box down below. Okay, obviously guys, she's busy, so don't be flooded with
her busy. She got interviews coming.
Okay, period. Or message me on Instagram too.
So we'll put her info in the description box, and make sure you like, comment,
and subscribe.
Share with a friend or two.
Bye-bye.
And hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. We will see you in our next one.